Power Players Q&A Volume 3. What's up, folks? This is Justin Garcia, a.k.a. Master Chim, and I'm here with the cracker himself, White Boy Patrick Kelly.
What's up?
And welcome to another episode of The Pressure Project. ThePressureProject.com is our website. Info at ThePressureProject.com is our contact email. YouTube.com/The Pressure Project is our YouTube channel. Please check it out. Subscribe. Today, we're going to do what we decided we're going to do pretty regularly from now on.
Yeah, that's correct.
We get so many questions from you guys, and, you know, I guess it's been a combination of me feeling bad that I don't answer all of you, and the fact that we've gotten so much good feedback from these types of episodes that we figured, you know, maybe once a month or so, once every 2 months, we'll do a Q&A episode.
Or whenever we feel like it.
Or whenever we feel like it, which is sort of like the unwritten thing that's understood. But, you know, we always give you guys our contact email, and so many of you use it. And sometimes, you know, you're just giving us a, you know, some sort of, you know, thank you, some sharing some gratitude. And it's always great to hear. Sometimes, you know, these conversations spark other questions that you guys have, and you share them with us. And a forum like this allows us to deal with those things.
True. And there's always been great episodes, a lot of good questions. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the guys, you know, I'll reply to you guys. If it's something quick, I'll just, you know, jot something down. But a lot of times, you know, some of these answers require a little bit more investment in time, and I don't have a half an hour to write, you know, a whole bunch of paragraphs on a private message. So, you know, this is perfect. So we're going to go through a couple of questions. We're going to give the guys first names who asked them. You know, we don't clear it with the guys really, you know, if they mind their names being out there. So we'll just give the first name.
That works.
And we'll deal with it that way. Let's go with the first one.
Okay.
Why don't you read that?
Okay, so this is from Bruno. What is your opinion about the Christian ritual of baptism?
All right, my opinion about the Christian ritual of baptism. I'm baptized. You baptized?
I was baptized.
All right, so I'm not a Christian. I actually didn't have any say in the matter being baptized.
I didn't either.
Right, most Christians don't. I don't believe.
That would be interesting.
What do you mean?
Like if they had a say when they were little.
Like, oh.
The baby's like, no.
Right. So the question was, what's my opinion about it? So I'm not a Christian.
Yeah.
Baptisms mean something significant to Christians. My interest in the baptism itself is really no more involved than its value to the topic of ritual.
Yeah.
In a more, you know, sort of close to home topic and conversation we usually have.
True.
You know, concerning tribe and such and identity. But, you know, when it comes to the specific ritual of baptism, you know, it's a Christian thing. I've said plenty of times that there was a time where I wanted to be, you know, super atheist guy.
Yeah.
And I've had some epic moments online when I was sort of carrying that torch. But, you know, I've since sort of evolved, and I would say evolved only because it's specific to my journey individually. But I've evolved to the point now where I understand the need for ritual, and I understand people embracing it. Obviously, I don't agree with any of the metaphysical implications of any religion. But when you talk about the value, the inherent value of ritual, I could definitely sign off on that.
Sure. Yeah.
And different people have their different rituals. The Christians, a major one is the baptism. So that's that.
True.
My children are baptized. Never asked you. You doing the baptism thing?
No.
Have you worked that out yet?
No, we're not doing it.
All right. I don't want to put you on a spot or anything.
It's fine.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But my wife and I decided no.
It's not in the plans.
All right. So
we give her baths.
Right. Yeah. I bathe the children quite often.
It's the same thing, I guess.
Right.
Anyway.
Without the magic, duh.
Mare Patri Filio Spiritu Sancti.
No, what is it?
That's it.
Spectacles, testicles, watch.
That's actually what it is. I don't know how to say that in Latin. That'd be
fun.
fun.
That's that.
Yeah, it is.
It's
spectacles, testicles, watch.
Well,
wallet.
The first thing you said is the Latin version of it, though, isn't it? No? All right. All right. So let's move on to the next one.
Yes.
So I hope that adequately answers the, you know, the question.
Yeah.
Sometimes, to me, I have to sort of figure out if I think somebody's asking a question to just ask a question,
Yeah.
meaning they're just curious about something, or if they heard an explanation that we've given on something and a question arose in their minds because of that explanation. And in those cases, I sort of feel responsible for answering that question too.
Correct. I get it. Yeah.
Because I don't want to be misunderstood. And I didn't know where this one fell, which is why I kind of included it. So next one. All right. So this is from Nicholas, and a little bit of a backstory, but pretty cool question.
Very interesting.
So he said, last night I found myself in a group of tourists in Chile. Got into a mix-up. A kid had pickpocketed one of his friends, took his iPhone, and it ended up in a fight breaking out with a group of about 18 kids. They can't have been more than 16 years old, so all teenagers.
Yeah.
Very quickly, they had belts, long wooden sticks, and they were swinging at us. The belts and the sticks were flying. A girl had cracked my friend over the head with a stick, which eventually resulted in stitches. So the question that he asks, he says, as a group, well, he says, in conclusion, as a group, we were loose, disorganized, and everything happened so fast. Any thoughts on what to do with wild kids and violent girls with weapons?
It's funny you should ask.
Funny you should ask. So I had actually answered him, and I'll repeat that answer and maybe expound on it a little bit. I told him, you treat them like the warriors they think they are.
100%. Yeah.
You will have, and this is one of the many things that, as much as maybe somebody's not going to see the parallel, I see it immediately between the situations that cops are constantly running into.
Correct.
Where people misunderstand the exchange of protocols and events and tactics. The whole, his life wasn't in jeopardy. Why didn't he do this instead of this?
Yeah.
We spoke about that time where the two cops were at the door and the mentally ill man walked out with a screwdriver in his hand, and people don't realize there isn't a sort of default nonviolent exchange in every given situation.
True.
So it's, you can't say, well, he hasn't done it yet, so you cannot in any way, shape, or form act as if he was about to do it or has done it. So when you had that guy in the doorway with the screwdriver, he made one move towards the cops. That's it. His life's over.
Yeah, they warned him. It's not like they warned him.
But all that being said, there are still people who felt that, he didn't put the screwdriver into one of the cops yet, so they cannot, and it's just not the way it works.
That's not the way it works.
Right. So going back to this situation, you have a bunch of kids who, if maybe you took a glance at in any other situation, you wouldn't see them as threatening at all. There's girls there too, teenage girls.
Yeah.
But what happens is it takes one strike of that stick up against your head to sort of either render you unconscious or render you completely incapacitated. And then you have successfully handed the care of your life over to a group of strangers who are currently being violent towards you.
Not a good thing to do at all.
Not a good thing to do at all. So, when you think about, how completely helpless, almost like a baby somebody is when they're knocked unconscious.
Yeah.
You see it in professional MMA fights. One guy's either choked unconscious or knocked out unconscious, and immediately the ref is diving in between the two of them.
Correct.
Because they are completely helpless.
Completely helpless.
So somebody has a weapon, and this weapon now, and I would say, weapon could be a closed fist.
100%.
I've had enough experience, finding people's off buttons to know that you're one swing away from putting somebody to sleep.
100%, yeah.
So, the whole thing is, when you talk about these kids that are jumping you in Chile, and he's not from Chile, which is adds another layer, of sort of protocol to the situation.
Turista.
He's a turista. He, he's got to mind his P's and Q's. There ain't no time for taking chances.
No.
If you're hanging out in your block and you get into a fight with some kid, maybe everybody knows you. Maybe there's a sort of different expectation of absolute violence.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
you're a tourist in Chile. You got a problem.
Very true.
So yeah, teenagers, kids, girls, they're all getting punched like grown men right in the
Correct.
middle of their fucking faces.
It reminds me of the Battle of Wendy's.
Yeah, absolutely. That's that one kid I hit, and he got up and he started walking away like he was on a mission.
He's still walking.
He's still walking. He's quite Chen Kang
Yeah.
of Westchester Avenue.
100%.
So,
But yeah, like that's the thing. No double legs. No one-on-one.
yeah, just
like,
throwing hammers.
yeah.
It's hammer time.
Yeah, it's hammer time.
So,
That's fun.
So that was from Nicholas, and so far Nicholas and Bruno, we appreciate your questions. Next one, we have a longtime listener to the podcast, and he's got a question too. Why don't you read that?
Okay, so we got Roderick. In that episode, you talk about how charity in the United States has gone up over
referring to episode 122, the charity one.
Correct. Over 10 times its level in the 70s. Meanwhile, the level of poverty hasn't risen. Question: does this account for charity that goes out of the country? Americans have given a lot of money to Haiti, Asian tsunami victims, etc.
Right. So what he's bringing up, it's a good question.
It is.
Because in that episode, we said, just to reiterate, since the 70s, what the average American gives to charity as an individual has increased tenfold. But if you look at the level of poverty, the latent level of poverty, meaning the level of poverty with not taking into consideration government handouts and entitlement programs, the level of poverty has basically remained the same.
Yeah.
Yet the amount donated has increased tenfold. So what he's asking, which is very, very good question and insightful, he says, well, how much do we give to international relief situations?
Yeah.
If we're giving 10 times as much, but those extra 9 times are going to other countries, then that wouldn't reflect on our poverty situation. And I will say that Pat and I scoured the internet, and we could not find a specific chart or statistic on domestic giving, right? So what people gave domestically.
A lot of the companies we found, a lot of charities, they all are global, So.
Right. So that's the second part of what I was going to say. So,
oh, cool.
You want to go through the whole thing right now, real quick. So,
real quick. Which part?
Pat knows stuff too.
I know stuff. Hi.
So, I'm going to say it again anyway.
That works.
I don't think you put it as eloquently as I had prepared to put it.
True. I think you're right. Let's hear how you do it.
Funny you should ask. So, what we did find is that we had to look at all of the charities that people give to. So the top American charities and how many of them actually give just domestically or domestically and internationally. And of the top 5, only one, which is Feeding America, only one gives solely domestically to America. So you can't even tell, who gives where, but the majority of people who get money, the majority of charities who get Americans' money are, a part of international efforts as well as domestic ones. So now, does this negate the observation made in the original episode? I would say no, because what they had given before, reflected the same type of disparity. So it's not like they were giving to American families in the 70s and then giving to foreign governments, in the 80s and 90s.
True.
They were giving to the charities who were the top charities, and those were the same charities. So I hope that answer sheds a little bit more light, adds another sort of level of information. But I stand by the original, conclusion that we made. And he's not necessarily opposed to that. He just wanted to bring up that point.
Just clarification. Cool. And the way they broke it down, they had a percentage-wise for international affairs. It wasn't that high as far as so.
All right. So the next question, but we thank you, Roderick, for that question.
Good shit.
The next one's from Keith. And Keith wanted our thoughts on this, and I don't even think I showed you this.
No.
But there's a life coach, like one of these TV life coaches, called Yanla.
That's a man?
No, it's a woman.
Okay.
Iyanla Van Sant, who's a woman. I think she's on like the Oprah Winfrey Network,
Okay,
and
sure.
she's
that?
like who's the guy? Dr. Phil,
She's like Dr.
the
Phil.
black lady, Dr. Phil,
Okay.
life coach. You know, she'll fix you up. You're screwing up, she'll fix you up, tell you what you need to do, and all that stuff. Charismatic woman. You know, never watched the show, but I've seen clips of videos.
Dr. Phyllis
Dr. Phyllis.
or Dr. Phil Nisha.
So her that was racist.
Was it?
For no reason.
Why?
Because you're racist. That's why.
I don't think. All right.
There is a reason.
There is a Eureka. Anyway.
Anyway.
Okay,
So,
back on point.
So, this is why we're never going to be on television.
This is not true. This is exactly why we'll be on television.
All right. So anyway, Iyanla Van Sant last year profiled an Atlanta music producer named Jay Williams, who has 34 children from 17 different women.
Okay. He's a busy guy.
Busy guy. And he's actually getting a reality show.
Oh, is he?
He's getting a
What's it
reality
called?
show. I don't even know.
Slinging Dick.
Slinging Dick.
That's a great name for a reality show.
Slinging Richard. So
Yeah.
she's supposed to be fixing this guy's life while he does all
What?
these different things. And
How do you fix that?
like the synopsis is she's going to allow him or enable him to develop relationships, positive relationships with all his baby mamas. He's going to work on his memory so he can remember all his children's names. He's going to learn how to use a condom. Start with the
Oh,
banana.
that's
you know,
good. Yeah.
So she's supposed to fix. So Keith wants to know, what are our thoughts on this? Well, there's so many different ways we can criticize the situation.
True.
I'd say first and foremost, this is what they're putting on television.
Yeah.
This is what they're putting on television. Obviously, Iyanla's black. The guy's black. I don't know if all his baby mamas are black, but a whole bunch of black people and a whole bunch of dysfunction, once again being put on television, which does not help the black community at all whatsoever.
No. It doesn't help anyone because it's
Right. It's
junk.
It's absolute junk, but it's bright light, new shiny things on television. In this day and age, that seems to be what you need.
Yeah.
So with that, they're that's a great way to lead the criticism of this idea. Now, if we're talking about the individual, the guy, what's his name, Jay Williams,
Yeah.
having 34 children from 17 different women is a sign of masculinity for some people, not real men. Especially when talking about us here at the Pressure Project, we are all about legacy, family, fatherhood, raising strong children, tribe, making sure your group's identity is strong. And this is the exact antithesis of that.
It is.
We're going to have, an upcoming episode. I'm not going to let the cat out too much, but, there are all sorts of different types of men who validate their masculinity fraudulently through, the number of women they sleep with.
Correct.
And it's not what real men do. We'll get into it in more detail in future episodes. We have them planned already. But, suffice to say, a man who has 34 children from 17 different women is never going to be a proper father or role model to his children.
Definitely not.
He's a music producer. That's what they list him as. So I guess he makes some money.
I guess so. Yeah.
So maybe he's footing the bills that he's supposed to be footing.
He's definitely making kids.
He's definitely making kids. But, just completely irresponsible. I mean, do we want to criticize the 17 different women? No. They're fucking retarded. But, that's neither here nor there for our purposes. It's really Jay Williams that, we want to comment on. And it's like, yeah, you got away with it. Good for you. Now you got a bunch of kids that have a loser father and a bunch of siblings they don't know. Good job.
It's going to be an interesting family picnic.
Yeah.
To say the least. Or what would it be? Barbecue? What?
For no reason whatsoever.
I'm just trying to figure out where we go. Atlanta, they have barbecues.
All right, so Next, last question. Fucking do the worst. Last question. This is from William.
From
This
William.
is a good question.
Yeah.
It's from Billy.
Billy.
How do you leave a tribe you feel is not the right tribe for you? All right. Or how do you leave a tribe you feel is not the tribe you want to be in?
Interesting.
So it is an interesting question, and it's something, a lot of times with tribes, I use, when I'm explaining concepts, I use the school as an example.
Yeah.
Realistically, it served as an incredible sort of laboratory for so many of these concepts for me.
100%.
But specific to this, we have people that leave the school a bunch of different ways.
Yes.
We have people that leave who we barely notice they left. They
True.
leave very early on. They never really sort of install themselves in the social network, of the school. And when they leave, it's really, not something that makes any waves and nobody really notices, aside from the sort of business protocol aspect of, finding out where the paying client went. But socially, they're never really here to begin with. So when they leave, it's no real void, right?
Yeah. It's invisible.
Then you have the people who leave because they decide one day they don't want to do it. They say, you know what? All right, I did this for however amount of time that I've done it, and like, all right, I've checked this box already. Like, I'm okay. Happens a lot, when they get guys get their first promotion, or
It does happen then.
they do their first tournament, or they have some sort of rite of passage that for them sort of leads them to the end of this particular road.
Correct.
And sometimes they leave without saying a thing. Sometimes, they're respectful enough
Sure. Yeah.
to come and let us know that, they're going to move on. And, I never like seeing somebody who I've invested time in leave. But I could respect people who leave, like
The
men,
right way. Yeah.
the right way. Then you have people who leave and never say a thing. Then they get to the other side of the field
Yeah.
and they pick up arms against you.
True.
So these are the people who were sort of faking it.
Yeah.
They had to be faking it a long time while they were here, and it went unnoticed. And I usually, take the blame for that. But a lot of the people who had left the school through the years under those circumstances, I will completely acknowledge that I didn't have the sort of technology that I have now.
True.
I didn't have the level of assessments that I do now to sort of peg these people early on.
Yeah.
I got sneeze. So, now we see, people, either it's through a reluctance to participate in ritual,
Correct. Yeah.
a unwillingness or a sort of contrary behavior or attitude towards procreation, or it's somebody who sabotages and undoes any sort of attempt at the survival of the group.
Correct.
So we have the formula that we could sort of assess people by now, and they sort of raise their hand whether they know it or not a lot sooner in the process now.
We have places to kind of designate their current position. Doesn't mean they're stuck there, but it's a lot more sophisticated.
Right. So, it's something that we're paying attention to.
Always.
And every once in a while, still you get somebody who puts so much effort into hiding their intentions that when they eventually leave, these are the guys that usually cause the most waves.
True.
I won't say they do damage per se because, it's not the way we operate. The group is strong enough, the tribe is strong enough to absorb, the efforts of one enemy.
True.
One traitor.
Anytime anyone leaves, we're better off that they're gone.
Right. And yeah, absolutely. And that works out like that constantly.
Yeah.
But the question that William had asked is, how do you leave?
True.
You're a man about it. Be a man about it. Go up to whatever the chain of command is. Go up to your leader, go up to the person who you would normally report to, and explain to them, and explain to them that the group's, identity is no longer congruent with your own. And, you wish them no hard feelings. You don't wish to be their enemy. You don't wish to be a traitor. But, you have to transition from being a member and being in tribe to being ex-tribe and hopefully one day being an ally.
Yeah.
I have had people who have left who I'm still very much on good terms with.
Sure.
And these people have gone through the process, as I'm describing it. So if you don't like your tribe, be honest about it. If you have somebody like, there was a time where I admit where, my claim to fame was nobody's ever left my school and went and trained someplace else.
Yeah.
It's because I didn't have a school long enough.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you're of a mindset, and I admit that at one point I was, that anybody who leaves, is a traitor, and anybody who leaves is an enemy and should be treated as such, what you wind up doing is you wind up filling the other side of the battlefield.
That is correct.
If you've ever seen Carlito's Way,
Yeah.
one of my phrases is, don't make a Benny Blanco.
Don't make a Benny Blanco.
You don't need Benny Blancos running around. And if you've never seen the movie, he's the guy who meets Carlito, who's the main character played by Al Pacino.
Correct.
And he has this tremendous amount of respect for him. Al Pacino just had gotten out of jail for a stint. While he was in there, this guy, he's played by John Leguizamo.
Correct.
Benny Blanco becomes
Benny Blanco.
a significant player in the city they're at. And when Al Pacino comes out, he doesn't really give Benny Blanco any respect. Quite the opposite, he disrespects him, and it eventually bites him in the ass. So
it does.
We say don't go around creating Benny Blancos.
No, not a good plan.
So if somebody has the wherewithal, the sort of character, the courage, even in some circumstances, to come up to you as a leader and say, "Look, I don't think this is for me. Where I want to go is not congruent with where this tribe is going." And we've had people who sometimes people want to be geefags, sometimes people want to just do striking.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to train the gi. I have an approach to the way I teach martial arts, and you have to be all in. If you're not all in, you're not going to fit.
True. And it's funny because the people who do leave without saying anything, they leave out of fear. They don't say anything out of fear. They handle it incorrectly because they're afraid of that uncomfortable conversation. Where the people who have done it correctly came and talked to people, talk to us, they're usually you see that relief in their face when they come to you like a man, they act like a man, and you treat them like a man. They're like, oh,
right.
Wow, all right, so everything's cool. It's like, well, yeah, because you handled it the right way.
Right. And those, with a lack of character,
yeah,
they don't understand the value in conducting themselves that way.
True.
Even if I was going to be some emotional sort of tyrant, they would still be able to say that they handled things like a man.
They would.
So, when you are leaving a tribe, be honest, show your character, express that you don't want to be an enemy, express that, the tribe's mission is just no longer congruent with your own, and move on from there.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, you don't burn a bridge, you never know when you could recross it in the future.
True. We've had tons of guys come back.
Absolutely. They're going through something in their life where they need to take a step back because they can't participate at a sort of acceptable level. And, they leave after a conversation and they square their shit away. And then the next thing you know, they're back on the mats.
Like nothing ever happened.
Because they did it the right way.
Correct.
So those are our thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's helpful to you.
Cool.
All right. So now, instead of a regular mantelpiece,
yes,
we decided to display our mantelpieces today, the man shirts. So the man shirts are our latest official Pressure Project shirt, one I'm pretty excited about. And what we managed to do was and just so you guys know, the way this works is I usually come up with the idea and Pat makes it a reality. He's the computer graphics guy, right? I'm the visionary.
Yeah.
So
your ideas are awesome.
Right? What did you say? I'm not
You're not
I'm not crazy.
crazy. You're eccentric.
I'm eccentric.
Yeah.
All right. So we agreed that once you start making a certain amount of money,
Yeah.
you become eccentric.
True.
So I'm right above that line.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Eccentric. I like it much better than sounding
Eccentric.
crazy. So the man shirt is our latest shirt, and it's the logo. And what we managed to do was take over 20 different languages and take the word for man in those languages and sort of superimpose them onto the logo.
Yeah.
So a pretty cool design. You know, it's our sort of blood red, which we like. The whole, black and red and, white highlights is the color scheme of the Pressure Project for a reason. They're all strong, masculine, shades and colors. And on the back, we have one of my sayings, the I am a man saying. And,
Which is legit.
And we're not going to stand up and go backwards to the camera.
No.
We'll do some magic instead.
Yeah.
So you guys ready? Here we go. Look, I'm going to take it off my back. I'm going to throw it on the screen. So
Awesome.
there you see the saying.
Yes.
And it's on the back of the shirt. And you can see it takes up, a lot of the back, but the same color scheme, has a logo on top. But everybody seems to be enjoying it, right? So let's pull that away. Bam. So, right now we have the shirt available. This will be up, Thursday, right? This episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, this will be on Thursday. So you'll have...
Wait, what day is today? I think this is going to be Friday's episode.
Friday's episode.
Yeah.
Right, Thursday. Oh, yeah, all right. Yeah,
they're listening to this Friday, 6 a.m.
Right.
Yeah. So they have, what'd you say? You said...
So what's today's episode?
What do you mean? It's already
Wednesday.
up. It's going up already.
Right.
Yeah.
Which one did we do?
The ritual. No, the
the procreation.
Yeah, procreation.
Duh.
Yeah.
You guys have no
We
idea.
do a lot of stuff, and it's at all times at night.
It's funny. Everybody who runs podcasts or guys that I do interviews with or guys that are in some way involved in the masculinity movement. They always say, Jack's told me it, Tom's told me, I've had other people I respect greatly say it.
Yeah.
They go, how do you guys create so much content?
We have a lot of stuff going on.
Like, we don't go anywhere. All we do is this podcast. And it's because we're just obsessed. And, I love doing it. And both of us are lucky enough that we don't need a lot of sleep to function.
Yeah, not at all.
But with the shirt, you guys will be seeing this Friday usually, and until midnight, 11:59 on Friday, you'll be able to get this for $20, which is the pre-sale price.
Correct.
$5 shipping and handling. After that, it goes up $5, so it's not the end of the world if you missed the pre-sale. But we've sold a lot of shirts so far.
Yeah,
to date. Yeah, so we got our first shipment of stock in. And almost all of it's going out tomorrow.
Correct.
I already ordered the second shipment, which will be here later in the week. So this is the man shirt. We don't come out with shirts very often.
No.
But we do have a slowly building official collection of shirts. And so far, we have the Never Apologize shirt. We have the Think, Act, Fight Like a Man shirt. And now we have the man shirt.
Yeah, and we had that limited strength shirt.
Right, limited strength shirt, but that was sort of an offshoot, like just a limited edition.
And that might come back. You never know.
Well, it's probably going to come back, to let the cat out the bag. So many people have been requesting it that I want to do that. And as we move to our paid model on the website, we're also going to have an incentive for the members to be able to get discount codes and be able to buy stuff at a lower price. So to make them, or give them the ability to take advantage of that, it makes sense to have more shirts available. All right, because,
very cool.
We are lucky enough, knock on wood, to have a group of very hardcore fans.
Correct.
And just because the nature of what we do here, our hardcore fans are like all awesome, solid men, which is cool. So it's a good group to be around. All right, so man shirt, check it out.
Legit.
Now, the pressure player. The pressure player for this episode is a pretty cool story. I read it in an article. A couple of people sent it to me. There was no video, and it's one of those things that I didn't want to research it too much just in case I found out it wasn't real because I really wanted it to be true.
It's real.
For all intents and purposes, I really think it is, but the specifics, because it was taken from an Argentinian newspaper,
Yeah.
some of the specifics have been lost in the retelling of the story. But we're calling this gentleman the Argentinian samurai.
That's awesome.
And he's actually an elderly gentleman. We don't have his name, but he and his wife were in Cordoba, which is Argentina.
Okay.
And they were home middle of the day when their home was broken into by a bunch of robbers. Now, it would appear that because it was the middle of the day, these robbers assumed that there would be nobody home.
I see. So it wasn't a home invasion.
It wasn't an invasion. They weren't even armed.
Oh, okay.
But they came upon, I think it was three gentlemen. They came upon this elderly couple.
Yeah.
And they beat the hell out of them. Apparently, they assaulted the elderly couple. And it wasn't until they tried to take the wife and bring her to another room that the husband went big. And what he did was, and now they use the word elderly. They don't have his age, but elderly, 70, 80 years old.
I would say that's elderly.
And he pulled a decorative samurai sword off the wall and just went bonsai. He just started
Bonsai!
So one of the things we had that we didn't have the video, obviously, but we had pictures of the robbers or the would-be robbers in the back of police cars, after the whole event happened. And they were missing fingers.
Yeah, he did.
One guy had his ear off. Like, there was blood everywhere.
Yeah. He went to work.
This old dude took down that samurai sword and just went crazy. So, in this day and age, we talk about, a man's sort of inclination, very natural, innate inclination to protect his family.
Yeah.
Here you have this elderly gentleman who, in a situation that would not be winnable to so many people, he decided to be a man first and worry about all that other stuff later.
Yeah.
And kudos to him. He'll never hear this, but man, let's send him some energy. There you go. He felt it.
Legit.
All right. So, Argentinian samurai pressure player. Now, the unicorn, this son of a bitch. You guys had to have heard this by now because it's been all over social media. I'm a member of a whole bunch of different websites and newsletters, and I've gotten this email to me like 5 different email lists.
Yeah, everyone's been spreading this one around.
Well, there's a judge. Right?
Judge.
Most of you know the story already. The judge's name is Olu Stevens.
Yeah.
Not an Irish guy.
He's not Irish.
He's not Irish. Black guy, black judge.
He's black.
Well,
American black.
American black. He's a judge in America. And this was Kentucky, I believe.
Kentucky.
Right?
Yeah.
Fucking up Kentucky. You're fucking up. So here's the situation. Do you know the situation?
Yeah.
I know the situation, but do you know?
Yes, I know the
Why
situation.
don't you describe the situation?
Okay. So, home invasion, armed, black invaders, let's just say.
Invaders. I like it.
They enter the home. They're going to rob the home. There's a 3-year-old little girl, sees them. Eventually, they get caught.
White family.
White family. Yeah, there was no. They didn't really get into details of how they got caught or what they did to the family, but they definitely terrorized the family. Now, the 3-year-old in the victim's statement, the mother is recanting or recounting what the little 3-year-old said about how she now, when she sees black people, she gets afraid. She, is nervous. She starts sweating. She gets really nervous if she sees black people. So that's in the victim statement. The judge decides that during sentencing, he wants to bring this up. He says that.
Well, let's go to the exact quote that we have.
Let's do that.
Written in front of us.
So he said, there's a victim impact statement here that bothers me, to be honest with you. I assume the victims in this case are white. So it's interesting at this stage, he doesn't know.
Right. So he's hearing the statement. He's hearing the charges. Now, I'm assuming there was, I don't even know how valid an assumption this is, but I'm assuming there was a plea offered to the guys, or because it's not a trial, because he would know who the victims
must
were.
Must have been a guilty plea, and plea bargain down.
Right. So when he said that, he says, I want to make that part of the record. I'm offended by that.
Yeah.
And
That he's deeply offended
he's
by
deeply
that.
offended. And I'm going to read it. So if you just read things that are like forward in the paragraph that I'm reading,
Yeah.
it kind of reduces my necessity to read anything.
After you read it, I'll repeat it like a hype man.
I need a mute button for your microphone because I want you to feel you're being active.
I am.
Right?
Very
I want to
active.
limit, your sabotage. So he says, I want to make that part of the record. I'm offended by that. And just in case anyone did not get the message the first several times, the judge took it in a new level. He said, I am deeply offended by that.
Yes.
And that's what you had said.
Did I?
Yes.
Okay.
He blamed the child's racism on the parents and on the parents and on the parents for fostering it.
Yeah.
So the child was 3.
3 years old.
3 years old. So originally the mother had said in her statement that, my little girl is now afraid of black people as a result of this, this crime. This crime of armed men invading a home.
Correct.
He blamed the child's racism and on the parents for fostering it. And all of a sudden, the victims of the racial violence were now the perpetrators. So talk about victim blaming, right? It's a phrase it's always used by the feminists and stuff for rape and shit like that.
Correct.
Well, now the judge says that, you're actually the racist, and I'm offended that you're categorizing this experience the way that you are.
And you're allowing your 3-year-old
Right.
to have these feelings.
And the perpetrators, they were portrayed as the victims. The judge then faced the one remaining home invader that was left to be sentenced and told him that he believed he could be redeemed through the saving power of probation, not prison.
Yeah.
So what he did was he gave this armed home invader, much to the chagrin of the prosecutor.
Yeah. He actually was
we
like,
don't have that here, but
he said he was, a judge, I'd really like you to reconsider this. This is an armed situation.
the judge is like, nah.
He was like, no, I believe that people deserve a second chance, and I think probation will be better. Let him give him a chance to redeem himself.
Right. So now we are a men's podcast.
Yeah.
We're not a white podcast.
True.
So it's important to remind people that every once in a while. So how does this affect masculinity and the plight of masculinity? Well, here you have young men who are of color. They're black. And they are now once again reinforced with the notion that they are not accountable or responsible for their actions.
No.
Any real man who embraces what masculinity is knows that that is at the core of what it means to be a man. Being accountable, paying attention to your reputation, your legacy, being a man of your word, all these things are completely, at the core of being a man and being masculine. And here we have now, I would argue, an institutional level sort of sabotaging of an entire race's sense of accountability. So, we've spoken to this at length, and usually I'm called a racist because of it. But to me, it is so simple conceptually. There is nothing. I remember, a friend of ours, a friend of mine, I think you've met him. I don't want to say his name and throw him under the bus.
Sure.
But he was a professional athlete, in amateur athletics. He reached the highest level of amateur athletics. Leave it at that.
Understood.
And intelligent dude, charismatic dude, good guy.
Yeah.
But there is such a compartmentalized logic in the way he approaches issues of race. He is one of these black men who thinks that there is an institutional sort of ulterior motive to keep black men down.
Yeah.
And I agree with him, but for reasons that he doesn't understand or wishes to acknowledge. I think there is an institutional level sabotaging of the black community, but I think it's through the entitlement. I think it's through the indoctrination of this victim mentality. I think it's through the lack of accountability that's thrust upon the young men in the black community.
True.
I think that's what's sabotaging them. I don't think it's racism. I don't think it's, this I hate black people campaign that, that people like him think goes on, behind the scenes. But the other day, it's funny because he shared a quote from, I think it was a football coach. And a football coach, successful football coach, was talking about how nobody tells these kids no anymore these days. And,
Yeah.
they don't understand. There's only one way to be successful. And, it takes what it takes. It takes whatever it takes.
Yeah.
That was the quote. And, basically, whatever you have to do to do what's necessary is your problem. If you want to be a champion, then whatever is between you and doing what it takes is your problem.
Correct.
You're committing to that.
Yeah.
You're already writing that check. Doesn't matter what the amount is. Doesn't matter what's on the journey from where you are to where you're saying you want to go. As soon as you say you want to be a champion, well, this is where a champion is.
Yeah.
You have to get there.
Correct.
The further away you are, the more you have to work, but that's your problem.
It is.
You're the one that said you wanted to be a champion. So I found it ironic that this gentleman, a friend of mine, I consider him a friend of mine, is so congruent with the concept of success and accountability and hard work.
Yeah.
Specifically athletically.
Yeah.
But when you take so many of these concepts and now apply it socially to some of the bumps and sort of barriers that the black community is still, facing, it's just completely compartmentalized logic. And I brought it up on the thread. I said, so all these things matter for athletics, but, not when it comes to getting out of the hood, huh? None of those things apply then, right? And it's just an inconsistency. So when you talk about, guys like this, who's a judge, how this happened, I have no idea.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
In Kentucky too. Kentucky, you're fucking up.
Yeah.
But Olu Stevens is a guy who, I'll tell you right now, he thinks he's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
He definitely thinks he's doing the right thing. But,
Chastising a 3-year-old.
yeah, but he's just so incredibly weak and emotional that, he doesn't even acknowledge the facts that are in front of him. The logic that, the very minimal logic that needs to be applied to understand how just foolish his actions are.
Yeah. Especially home invasion. Home invasion's
It's serious.
That's a pretty,
People
yeah.
die. Like if the homeowner were to shoot the individual
Yeah.
who he gave probation to, the homeowner would be let off the hook.
Correct.
So what they did is protected legally to be executed for.
Yeah.
Like somebody breaks into my house
Yes.
and I'm living in Kentucky and I have, 1,000 guns in my house. Guy walks in,
Yeah.
especially he has a gun, he's done. He's done.
Correct.
And the law would protect me.
Yeah.
But for that same individual, he decided that probation is where it's at.
Yeah.
You know,
I'd be interested to see what these guys that got, what their next step is.
Right. And
Just not saying one way or the other. Maybe they do redeem themselves, or maybe they kill the next family.
Statistically, no. They're going to be degenerates.
Yeah. They got away with it once. It's like, oh, cool. I can do this
Just like
more.
the football coach said, nobody ever tells these kids no.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is, and it's unfortunate, but, my kids aren't going to have to grow up with that, that weakness,
Definitely not.
but this guy, Olu Stevens, is making sure those kids do.
He was deeply offended.
Deeply offended.
Deep.
Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Do your job.
Do your job. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The law, the blind lady.
Yeah.
She's got a blindfold on. Like, put the fucking blindfold on.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
idiot.
Yeah.
Anywho. All right. So some good questions. Good talk.
Legit.
I enjoy these Q&A episodes because they allow us, a little bit less of a formal, itinerary for the episode, allow us to explore different topics, talk about a whole slew of things that aren't necessarily related other than in their anchoring to masculinity. But fun episode.
Yeah.
Break it down, Pat.
Cool. So, volume 3, power players, questions answered. Keep the questions coming. so we can have a volume 4, volume 5. We'll keep doing this. We get a lot of power from our power players. So you guys participating, in the live streams, participating on Facebook, participating on YouTube, leaving comments.
Ritual.
Yeah, this is part of, the loyalty matrix. You guys are participating in that. So that's very important. So keep it up. Keep the questions going. Keep shooting us messages as well. Some of them will make it. Some of them, will be answered directly. But, anything you guys are thinking about, let us know about it.
All right. So, as we move to this different model, this paid model for the website, understand, I am the guy who was asked questions about tribe. I am the guy who was asked questions about how to build a tribe, how to build an identity. And I practice what I preach. So, when we have the live streams, when we have these Q&A episodes, these are certainly ways by which, Pat and I are including all you guys who are such loyal listeners, including you in the fabric of what it is that we do. When I teach, whether it's jiu-jitsu or, MMA or business or whatever it is, I'm never the guy that teaches to the back of the room. I'm always the guy that, what's our teaching methodology, Pat? What do we do when we have to teach a student something?
What do you mean?
We talk until what happens?
Until you see the light bulb.
Right. Light bulb. Right. Very good.
Yeah.
Put you under a little pressure there.
That's good.
Became more powerful.
I was going to go into something
You became
else.
more powerful right in front of me. It's amazing.
Look for the light bulb.
So we like to look for the light bulb, which means there always needs to be a connection with who it is, you're sharing these ideas with. And, the different, means by which you guys can participate are ways of us making that happen. I'm sure, once we get the paid model, we'll get people that are, behind the curtain with us, sort of doing all the things that I have planned for that. And it's quite a few things. But even if you're not, a part of that yet, still, we enjoy having you guys participate in the Q&As. We enjoy you guys participating in the live streams. And so long as we feel, that we're, continuing to grow this revolution, we're going to be here looking for new ways to do more, for those of you that have been so supportive from the beginning. So thank you for that. All right, guys, thepressureproject.com is our website. Info@thepressureproject.com is our contact email. Please go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/thepressureproject, and subscribe. We need more subscribers. There are too many shitty podcasts out there with more subscribers than us, and it really pisses me off. But I digest. That's not all I should say.
Yeah.
I digest. So thank you, brothers, and we appreciate you spending time with us. We look forward to talking to you on the next episode. And as always, pressure to power.